Conversations with Phil. Business advice without the BS. Just straight talk and frank conversations to help you grow your business by teaching you to get more leads, earn more referrals, and close more business. Each episode, Phil has a conversation with a business leader to offer you insights from their business and translate it into actionable tips for your business.
Hey, I got Paul Neuberger today with me having a great conversation. We're going to talk about cold calling. No, it's not dead. It needs to be done better. We're going to talk about Pez dispensers, family, and all the cool stuff that Paul does back home near Milwaukee. So what's up, buddy? How are you, Paul?
I am well, my friend. How you doing?
I am great. Yeah, we got rain here today, so it's only 80 and pretty sunny, so it's terrible to be in Tampa today. How's the weather back home?
Well, if I didn't need any more reason to be jealous of you, Phil, that's number 863 on my list. It's okay. I mean, for April, there's no blizzards or anything like that, but we're in the 40s, overcast and gray, which is it's been that way since January, so we're trying our best.
And yet still you are sunny and chipper as always, my friend. There's like a light around you or something. Is that just your personality, or is that a spotlight or what?
It's just the halo that I have, I guess. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, it follows me, Phil. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, well, it's better than a gray cloud. That's for sure, Paul.
Yes, it is. I agree.
So cool. So let's start with a little bit of fun stuff. So you told me that you collect presidential things and you have a complete set of presidential Pez dispensers, Paul. Let's see this.
Yes, you did hear that correctly. So I just randomly grabbed one. This is just one series out of the complete set that I have. This is from the late 50s and 60s. You'll see that we're starting with, actually back down to the 40s. You see we got starting with Franklin Roosevelt all the way through Lyndon Johnson. I've always been a fan of politics. We won't get into that matter here, though, today, Phil, but I've always been a fan of politics and presidential politics, history. I have a ton of respect for the office, and my in-laws were at, I think they got this one at Mayfair Mall, and they just saw these Pez dispensers and said, I think Paul would like some of these. Well, for me, everything I do, if I'm going to do it big, so I couldn't just take one set. I had to get all of them. Well, I recently completed the complete series just a few weeks ago. I am very thrilled about that. But, I love politics. So anything that's presidential, I end up collecting.
That's cool. So what was the last one in your set? Was it the Obama one, or was there some other one that you're missing?
No, I had that one. I'm actually that was it was the second one. It's the one with John Quincy Adams, Martin Van Buren, Andrew Jackson, the presidents that nobody remembers. Unless you know Seinfeld, the Van Buren boys. That might be the only Van Buren that you're aware of. That was the last one, and I got that a couple weeks ago. So we are now all set, and my life is complete, for now anyway.
Excellent. So last question on politics before we move on. Did you get the presidential garbage pail kids?
Are you making this up, or is that serious?
No, dude, I'm serious. I ordered the set. I've got the presidential candidate garbage pail kids with all the candidates back from, I believe, from the Iowa one. So if you go to Tops offers those on the day of many of these primaries, and you can get them on eBay. I swear I'm not making it up.
Okay. No, but now that you've planted that seed in my brain, I probably will have to get all of them now. Thanks, Phil.
I'm sure your wife thanks me too, Paul.
Yes, she does. Absolutely.
So that's hilarious, man. Well, we'll definitely get back to talking about family and fun stuff, but let's talk a little bit about work stuff. Cold call coach, right? I have to say, Paul, I'm just going to be totally honest. When I got introduced to you by Kathy Shine, and Kathy said, I've got this guy you've got to meet. His name is Paul Neuberger, and he teaches people how to cold call better. I'm like, not so much. This is not going to be a fit. I don't like people interrupting my day. But then I think, you know what? A lot of times that might be useful. So Paul, talk to me about why cold calling for you actually is pretty scientific and works really effectively to increase sales.
Yeah, well, I mean, one is I'm a bit of an odd duck, as you know, and as some of the your viewers will soon find out. I just love doing things that most people hate. I adore public speaking. I love cold calling, and I enjoy raising money. All three things that some people would rather die than doing. And part of the reason that I enjoy doing that so much is because it's hard. And when it comes to personal development, professional development, always having a value add proposition or being needed, if I can get good at something that's very, very hard, I have a market for me constantly. But one of the things, Phil, to answer your question is I never believe that cold call is dead. I mean, you hear people say cold calling is a thing of the Franklin Roosevelt era or the Eisenhower era. Nobody cold calls anymore. I never believed that. I've always been told you play to your strengths. And outside of being very, very handsome, one of my other strengths is I'm just very extroverted. My strength is when I'm sitting down with somebody. My strength is when I'm talking to somebody. When I'm writing an email, I sound like everybody else. When I'm doing a LinkedIn message, I sound like everybody else. So how can you tell me that the one thing that's going to give me a competitive advantage is dead? If that's dead, I'm dead. So I just never believed that cold calling was a thing of the past. So I was constantly modifying it, constantly trying new things, constantly trying to get better at what I was trying to do. And funny thing is, it started to work. And for me, how I kind of define what I do with cold calling, people think cold calling is just to pick up the phone and sell Phil Gerbishak something, or pick up the phone and sell somebody something. That's not how I define cold calling. For me, the definition of a successful cold call is picking up the phone and within about 45 seconds, getting in front of whoever I want, when I want, on my terms. Well, think about all the applications that has. What if you're applying for a job? Wouldn't it be kind of nice just to pick up the phone and get an appointment with your potential employer? What if you're a professional fundraiser? Wouldn't it be kind of nice just to pick up the phone and get in front of a multimillionaire that you might want to talk to about a potential major donation? So cold calling, as it's previously understood, and picking up the phone and selling, that I believe is dead. My job is just to show folks how to pick up the phone and get in front of whoever you want, when you want. I'm calling you on a Monday. I'm running the appointment by Wednesday. By Friday, I'm closing business. Who wouldn't want that? That's my question.
Yeah. So Paul, you don't do any research, right? You just pick up the phone and you just randomly call people, go down the list, right? That's the cold calling you're doing here?
Absolutely not, Phil. And how dare you even ask me that question?
Of course, right? I know that's not true.
Good segue. Correct. We're not, and that's the other reason why people say cold calling is dead. It's, hey, I got my church bulletin. Let's go through the list and call everybody. Well, you wonder why it fails when you're just randomly calling everybody. And just like any sales professional, just like anybody in higher education, just like anybody that does anything, you're supposed to have some kind of a strategy. Well, cold calling is no different. I work with my clients to really identify two main components of their strategy. Number one, who is your absolute most perfect ideal client? Because for me, my definition of a successful cold call is picking up the phone and running an appointment. So if you're going to be running a copious amount of appointments, we got to make sure that these folks are worth your time and that there's a value add proposition down the road. So we're only going to be calling our absolute most perfect ideal clients. And not only that, the follow-up question then is, who is your center of influence? And that is defined by me as an individual, organization, or entity that is around your ideal clients all day, every day. Quick example. So when I was in financial services, one of my ideal clients was a middle-aged man going through a divorce. A divorce is an incredibly traumatic time in somebody's life financially. I can't imagine anybody who goes through a divorce that doesn't need the help of a good financial advisor. But it's hard to figure out who's in the middle of a divorce. People don't just wear a big button that says that. So one of the things that I started to do is I said, well, while I'm trying to figure out who these people are, who's around people all day, every day going through a divorce? I bet you could think of somebody, Phil.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. So maybe a divorce attorney?
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty good bet. So in addition to going through my list of potential men going through a divorce, I was also cold calling all the divorce attorneys in the area. I was also cold calling marriage counselors, mental health professionals, pastors and priests, even the occasional bartender where some of these middle-aged men going through a divorce might hang out. So I was the only financial advisor on the block that was courting these centers of influence, which led to more referrals, which led to more business. So we're very strategic, and that's what we teach our clients also.
So strategic cold calling with research, using likely some tools that are available digitally, as well as things that you know offline. Paul, that sounds like effective calling. That doesn't sound like cold calling to me, my friend.
Well, it is. It's effective cold calling. The reason it's still cold is these people don't know who we are. I'm calling a divorce attorney who's never heard of me, who doesn't know my organization, who has not been referred by me by anybody in our shared sphere. So I still like the term cold because that's what it is. I'm just randomly going to call this person out of the blue and try to schedule an appointment right away. But why I still think that there's a value add proposition with that, Philly, my boy, is because I'm the kind of a guy that is very, very impatient. I could go through, I've got 12,000 followers on LinkedIn. Could you imagine if I go through all of my LinkedIn followers and see who they're connected with and then ask everybody for a recommendation? My God, my 3-year-old will be 15 by the time I start getting some setups. So for me, I know who I want. I know who I'm trying to get in front of. And rather than going to every networking group I can think of or joining a BNI or an AM Spirit or all these other organizations, I do some research over the weekend. I call these people by Monday. By Wednesday, I'm running the appointment and we're off and running. It's just much more efficient for a very impatient guy like me.
Yeah. One thing you didn't say, but I think is important, Paul, and I know this is true about you, is that you also find a way that you can add value to them. And I think that's important to remind folks. You're not just picking up the phone randomly and calling these folks. You think about what value Paul Neuberger has to bring to the table with these people. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because it's one thing to get somebody to meet with you. It's one thing to run that appointment. It's another thing to get them, to incentivize them to send you referrals, to bring enough value where a smart person like a Phil or like a divorce attorney or somebody else might say, wow, my clients could really benefit from the services this guy provides. Yes, you have to bring value. You have to work collaboratively. There has to be a mutually beneficial gain. And that's one of the other things that we work with our clients on is to say, hey, okay, here's how we develop the strategy of a successful cold call program, namely who do we call and how do we figure out who they are. The second piece is the structure. I've got a 98% cold call success rate. It seems ridiculously ludicrous, but part of the reason is because not only is the strategy really robust, but what we say on the phone is unlike anything that anybody is teaching out there in the marketplace. How do we make the effective call? How do we leave a good voicemail? How do we get past the gatekeeper? But then the third thing, to your point, Phil, is how do we conduct that first meeting? If we can't bring value right away, if we can't pique their curiosity, and if we can't get them to say, wow, I've got to stay close to this guy, it's all for naught. So those are all things that we teach our clients to make sure that we can actually build something upon all these meetings that we run with these ideal clients.
Cool. So one more piece of this I think was interesting and eye-opening to me, but once you said it, it made total sense. And that's the 5 words that kill every conversation, right? Hello, my name is, and then you say your name. Why is that so bad, Paul?
Okay, well, let's just do a little demonstration here. Now, Phil gets the worst end of this deal, but I consider Phil a friend of mine. And if I were to give Phil a call, which I do from time to time, especially when I'm hungover and it's 2 a.m. on a Saturday, I give Phil a quick call and Phil looks down at the cell phone and he sees my name on his caller ID. Phil and I have known each other for about a year and a half. We enjoy each other. We know a little bit about each other's families. So Phil sees my name. Oh, I know Paul. Hey, Paul, how you doing? Well, Phil, imagine how stupid it would sound if you know me, we have a relationship, there's a mutual respect and admiration, and I go, hello, Phil, my name is Paul Neuberger. How are you? If I say that, what are you thinking? What are you thinking, Phil, in your head when I say
something? Dude, are we really friends? Why the heck are you doing that, man? I know who this is, Paul.
Right. Or what has Paul been huffing some magic markers? I mean, what's wrong with this guy? I mean,
yeah.
I know who you are. Well, just as odd as that sounds when you know somebody, it is a massive red flag when you don't know that person. Because, Phil, in your opinion, what does my name is signify?
Hello, I am a stranger.
Sure. And imagine this. It's a Thursday morning. It's a phone number I don't recognize, a name I've never heard of, a company I can't put my finger on, and this person is telling me, hello, I'm a stranger. What kind of a call do you think it is?
A quickly disconnected call.
Because it's a what kind of a call?
It's a cold call.
Well, it begins with S and ends in ale.
There you go.
The sales call. So what normally starts to happen is these people start going, well, are you normally happy that you picked up a sales call or a little disappointed? Little disappointed. Are you hanging on this person's every word now, or are you trying to get rid of them? Well, Phil's already gotten rid of me, so there we go. So just by saying, hi, my name is, people have jumped to the conclusion it's a sales call. They're not very happy they picked up the phone. They're trying to get rid of you. And it's a mutually destructive cycle. One is that hurts my business because they don't give me the time of day. But number two, if you're a guy like Phil or a guy like me or a guy like our respective clients, we work with special people that are doing a lot of good that are going to make your life better. Well, these people just assumed you're a slick used car salesman and shut you out forever. their life is worse off because they didn't give you the chance when they should have. So just by doing a little psychology, saying a few things and omitting a couple of other things, we find that we get people that are happier they picked up our call. We pique their curiosity. They're hanging on our every word, and we're much more likely to witness a successful outcome because of that.
Yeah, adding value back. Now, you have this DVD that is spectacular that actually teaches some of these things, and the investment is really small. Tell us a little bit about the DVD, Paul, before we talk about your family and how a little bit of your origin, how you got started doing this.
Yeah, sure. So the DVD Phil is referring to is the Cold Call Coach Training DVD. We do have seminars about once or twice a month. However, those are usually regional seminars, Milwaukee, Chicago, that kind of a thing. So for our East Coast and West Coast clients, there's not a lot of value they can find in coming to the Midwest. So folks like that can't go to our seminars or that want to take our seminar back to their team usually purchase that. It's $100, and they can be ordered either on our website, which is coldcallcoach.net, or by sending me an email at www.coldcallcoachllc.com. We can certainly make sure that you have a copy of that, but they're 2 hours in duration, and they take a deep dive in all of those things, into the strategy, into the structure, and the psychology. The other thing that I'll say that I pride myself on, that not only do I work with my clients on, but also that you see in the DVD, you know why a lot of people, Phil, if you're a smart guy, you know why a lot of people tell you not to cold call, or why cold calling is dead from your experience?
They're afraid of it.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of it is because, and I would say part of it is too, that these trainers, they don't believe that you have the capacity to get good at this. And when you think about this at its core, cold calling is very, very difficult. Cold calling fills people with anxiety, phone phobia, call reluctance. So what do? Well, it's difficult. Just don't do it. Cold calling is dead. Well, it's tough and it's going to be very hard to master this. I don't think you're good enough to do it. So why don't you just go to LinkedIn instead? I'm different. I believe that everybody here has the ability to be a good cold caller. I believe that if folks just look at it in a different way, they can master the skill set that used to be nearly impossible to do. And it's almost kind of like somebody who might be 100 pounds overweight saying, I should start going to the gym. I should start working out, but that's tough. I'm just not going to do it. That's not in your best interest. Anybody would say that. If it's not tough, it's not worth doing. So if we can show folks how to take something that's difficult and make it easy, we can show folks how they used to be afraid of something, but now that they can embrace it because we choose to believe in you, because we know you're capable of doing this, and we know that your best days financially are ahead of you. So that's really what we stand for at this organization.
Yeah, very cool. So Paul, how did you get started cold calling, right? I know that you didn't just start picking up the phone and failing right away. I mean, how did you do this? How did this come about?
Well, my first words as a 2-year-old were cold call.
And your kids too, right?
Yeah, my kids too. Yeah, absolutely. No, I used to, my first really exposure to cold calling was when I was a college student. I graduated from Ripon College in 2005. And for 3 years as an undergraduate, my job was a student phone-a-thon caller. I got paid to call the alumni, parents, and friends to raise money for the scholarship fund. Well, I'm just a very extroverted kind of guy. And when I saw I could be paid for flapping my gums, I said I'd be dumb not to do this. And the more I talked, the better relationships I built, the better communications I had with these donors. It's funny, the more money I started to raise. So I raised a lot of money. When I graduated, the folks in the advancement office really just kind of said, hey, do you want to do this full time? And I guess my better judgment at the time, I wanted to be a doctor. I said, sure, okay, I can try this for a year. They sunk their teeth into me. 9 years later, I was all the way up to vice president of Marian University in Fond du Lac, had my eyes set on college presidency. And then we had a very sudden, unexpected passing in my family. My father-in-law died very suddenly. And the what-if question in terms of asset protection, taking care of the folks that follow my father-in-law, weren't answered as well as they otherwise could have been. And I just took some of that very personally. What could I have done as the son-in-law? How could I have maybe made this situation a little easier? So I left higher education. I got into financial services, was doing that for 3 years. But cold calling was always the same. I was doing that for the entire spectrum, every step of the way. But I think you can understand this, Phil. It's a lot different when you cold call when you're salaried versus cold calling when your life depends on it.
Yeah.
So when my life started depending on my ability to cold call, I got a lot more serious about it. I tried new things. I did outside the box approaches. I tried new strategies, identifying ideal clients. Next thing I know, I make 10 cold calls. I get 10 appointments, and I got people that are just kind of watching me saying, you got to look at this guy. He's like a circus act. I've never seen anybody who makes 12 calls in 20 minutes and gets 12 appointments. So realtor friends of mine were asking me to train their team, other financial advisors the same. Next thing I know, it's pulling me away from financial services. So a year ago, right around this time, April 2015, I created the business. I went full-time in October, and I haven't looked back. I'm happier than is probably legally permissible. I love each and every one of my clients, and what I love is my clients aren't dependent on me for their success. I've been told by other people I've got a very crappy business model in the sense that I don't have anybody dependent upon me for their success. We don't want to give you a fish. We want to teach you to fish. And not only that, but within a couple of months, if that, based on our simple techniques, our strategy, and our structure, there's no looking back. And now you can be just as effective as we are, and your financial future is secured forever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So you talk about your family, Paul. I think that's instructive because a lot of times people think that, if you're successful in sales, your family suffers. But you say you're happier than you feel you deserve to be. But talk about that, Paul. Come on, man. I know that's not true. I know you deserve all the happiness in the world, brother.
I appreciate that, Phil. That's why you're a friend of mine. But no, honestly, part of the reason that I'm so happy in this role is with cold calling, we take full control over everything. There's really no variables outside of our control. I can't use the excuse, well, if only I could talk to more people that could benefit from my services, because I'm calling everybody that could benefit from my services. And it's not, well, if only people would pick up their phone, because 84.1% of all the voicemails I leave get returned usually within the same day. If we know who we're going after, who benefits from our services, and we have a very robust strategy and structure in place, if I wake up today and I say, I want to make $25,000 today, I can. The only one that's going to limit me is me, because I have full control over everything. So that means I get to go home and spend more time with these little guys. So I've got my oldest is my 3-year-old. That's Kennedy. My youngest is my 1-year-old. That's Hudson. And I still am to some degree a bona fide workaholic, but I always thought it'd be glorious to just die behind my desk. Just not come home one night, back when I was single, just not come home and they find me just slumped over on my desk. Paul went out in a blaze of glory, worked 72 hours straight. But when I started becoming a father, my perspective on life just totally changed. I mean, now everything that I do is no longer about me. It's about my kids. It's not about my future. It's about my kids' future. And I don't want to leave my kids' future to chance. So that's why I cold call. That's why I work as hard as I do. That's why I try to touch as many lives as I can. And my clients, funny thing is, they find the same thing. Because they're making more money, they're spending more time with their families. Because they're making more money, they don't have to work as hard. And they're no longer working on somebody else's calendar. They're working on their own. So the same things I love about this career, that this career has afforded me, and the cold calling has afforded me, and now affords my clients. And that just fills me with a tremendous amount of pride there, Phil, I must say.
Yeah, you and your wife do some good stuff, man. So that's really awesome. And I'm sure your kids are going to become very well adjusted as they grow older. So that's fun, man.
I appreciate that. And my oldest is just an extremely extroverted kind of guy too. So I see a future cold call expert in him. And my youngest, every time he hears a phone ring, because I'm always picking up the phone when it rings, he just goes right to his ear and he goes, hello, hello. So they're already starting. So this is really exciting.
Cool. So if you can't afford to work with Paul, you can get the DVD. And if you can't afford the DVD, you can work with Paul's kids, because they'll teach you how to overcome the problems, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Nobody answers the phone quicker than my 1-year-old. So yeah, he'll equip you with all the skills you need for sure.
That's so funny. So cool, man. So Paul, we talked about all of that. So tell us, what's next for Paul? What's Paul working on in order to make the world even better and expand the pie out there?
Sure. So I just want folks to know that no matter what your situation is, if you can answer this question, if I could get in front of anyone at any time, who would that be? If there's one person that you can fill that blank with, then the most effective way to get in front of that person is cold calling. Not only is it going to work better, it's going to work quicker, and it's going to work much more effectively. So in terms of me, I've got some pretty large clients. I'm working with 3 of the 4 professional sports teams in the state of Wisconsin. I've had some conversations with some large telecommunication companies, including U.S. Cellular, done some work in the financial industry, including with several Northwestern Mutual reps. So we work with some big clients, but I also have some stay-at-home moms that do Norwex. I also have some Mary Kay moms that are just looking to put a little extra money in their pocket. I mentioned some scenarios earlier. I work with a number of nonprofit organizations that are trying to raise more money. I work with a number of individuals that are having a hard time finding a job. You send out 80 resumes, you don't get a response. Well, let's pick up the phone, 2 calls, you run 2 potential job interviews with these organizations. So it's just really all about working smarter, not harder. I do have some nationwide stuff coming up. I do have a session for, there's a conference that does education for salespeople in professional sports. Professional sports is becoming a niche of mine. I don't know why that is, but that's coming up in Pittsburgh in a couple of months. I do have some other clients in the Philadelphia market, whatever else. So it's fun that not only am I hitting this market, but there's becoming more of a national need and a national presence for the cold call coach. So hopefully in the next couple of years, not just for my own edification, but Paul Neuberger and the cold call coach is a nationwide name. And not just because, woohoo, look at me, I'll tap myself on the head. But if I've got to that point, that means that I've succeeded in bringing cold calling back. That means I've succeeded in showing people why they can grow their business through cold calling. And for me, it's more important just to put cold calling back in the mainstream and make that an important part of your sales quiver rather than just, hey, look at me. So that's the goal. And if I've gotten that far, we're starting to win over some hearts and minds. And that's really what I'm interested in at this point.
Cool. And just to be clear, Paul talks a lot about stats. He actually measures this. I know that a bunch of statistics, people think that, oh, they're made up on the fly. Paul, I know let's talk as we wrap here.
Sure.
Talk about the statistics, because people, if they've listened this far, they're like, really, dude, he's got that kind of success. So talk a little bit about that, because I think that's important.
Well, the only reason they're still listening this far is because you're ridiculously handsome, and it's the
Yeah, that's it.
So I'll rattle off a couple of quick stats, like you said, with the limited time we have. So like I said, my cold call success rate is 98%. That's measured based on how many calls I make that result in appointments. 84.1% of all my voicemails get returned, again, usually within the same day. But I don't want to just talk about my stats. I'll give you 2 examples of 2 organizational clients that I'm working with. And because these 2 clients have agreed to serve as ongoing referrals because they sound so ridiculous that they said, hey, yeah, have people call me if they want clarification on this. The first one is a group. It's called the Office Technology Group. It's based in Milwaukee. Their VP of Sales is Matt Wolfgram. That's Matt with 1 T. And Matt had me come in. He's got about 7 people on his sales team. And every Wednesday they do a blitz. You got about 7 people for 4 hours, and they make cold calls. Well, on any given session, maybe they're scheduling 6 appointments total, something like that. I came in on a Tuesday. I did my patented group cold call training session. I said, okay, we'll give this one Wednesday. You'll do 1 blitz session. Then the following week, we'll do another. After that second one, let's revisit where you're at. I kid you not, my friend. After that second Wednesday, that was 8 days after my training session, they scheduled 73 total. 73
Wow.
Total. So that went from 6 total to 73 total in just 8 days. And now we're working together on an ongoing monthly basis to keep that momentum. The other one is a good organization, Bank of England. It's their mortgage division in Brookfield. Jody Ulrich is responsible for that team. And they had about less than a 5% cold call success rate, calling realtors and other people in that industry. We've been at it a little bit longer. For them, it's been about 3 weeks. Their team, which is 5 really, really good people, after 5 weeks, they're at 61% cold call success rate. So again, if folks want Matt and Jody's contact information, I'm happy to provide it. It is true. I'm a guy that I gauge my success on quantifiable metrics, but quantifiable metrics quickly, because my clients don't have time to wait months and months and months and months to get paid. We got to get paid quickly. We got to bring value right away, and that's what we believe in here.
Awesome. So if you want more from Paul, and I'm a believer now. I didn't like I said, total skeptic at the outset. I know Paul's stuff works. Just go to coldcallcoach.net. You'll find some great stuff from Paul. He's always helpful, always this friendlier, and
usually friendlier. Yeah, usually friendlier.
Yeah. And thankfully, he kept his shirt on for the whole video. We were talking about that at the outset.
It was hard. It's been chafing the whole time. But
that's it. So, but in all seriousness, Paul, I'm so glad that you chose to join me today. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Hey, anything for you, Phil. I appreciate it, my friend.
My pleasure.